Hi everyone, it's Nicole and I'm here with layout 25 of 42. I went to a crop back in October. I brought 48 page kits with me and I was able to get 42 completed. And most of my page kits, I'd say probably 100% of them were made from scraps. So I like going through my pattern papers and I like to take the scraps and make other page kits. Like the 2 strips that I'm putting down right now, that was a 2 by 12. And when I looked at that, I thought, well, I'm just going to cut it in half. I'll put an inch at the top and an inch at the bottom. And then I had this blue cardstock with a big hole in the middle. And I thought, you know what? I'll cut it down so it fits in between those two. And then I'll keep layering. I do have a white cardstock in the back, but a lot of my white cardstock that I use, it's really flimsy white cardstock. And in a case like this, I don't mind building another layer. So a lot of times what I like to do with my scraps is to build some layers like this. I mean, you know, that blue cardstock had a big hole in it, so I was only going to be able to use part of it. That other blue cardstock was a little bit bigger than what I cut it down to, but I cut it down so that it would cover that white cardstock. But what I could have done, I could have used that cutout and build my layout around that too, and that would have been cool if I could have used that and put a picture in the center. But in this case, I tried to use as much pattern papers as I possibly could. And then I had a little scrap of pattern paper and I put at the top of the layout, and I thought, oh, that'd be a cool place to put a photo at the end of that. And then I'm going to do the same thing at the bottom of the layout. So a lot of times when I start a layout, I have no idea how it's going to go. So I let the paper kit kind of inspire me. Or if you will, maybe, I'll just call myself the paper whisperer. Oh, that was funny. But all joking aside, what I do is I look at what I have when I open my paper kit or my page kit, and then I say, okay, what can I do with this? I always separate the pattern papers from the embellishments, and then I look at the pattern papers because, you gotta, even building a house, you gotta start from the foundation up, and the foundation of the page is the background. So I always look at how can I use the pattern paper to work on my background. And then each embellishment cluster, then it's like the rooms in your house, so then you got to have a foundation for those two, and then you build on from there. And it's also made it that instead of taking hours, putting layouts together, I can usually put a layout together now under a half an hour if that's all I'm doing. Now, if I'm doing a virtual crop and we're chatting and going on, it usually takes me more like 35-40 minutes to get a layout done. But if I'm at a crop like this and, yes, I was chatting with my friends, but there was a lot of times that, when you're there all weekend and all you do is chit chat, at some point you have some quiet time. And when I had quiet times, I could put a layout together under 30 minutes. This layout right here took me 17 minutes to put together. So one of my favorite things about making page kits is I use a lot of scraps. A couple years ago, I decided that, oh my goodness, I just have way too much scraps and I got to start scrapping a little bit more with scraps. So instead of, every page kit that I make, that I use new sheets of pattern papers, I try to use a whole lot more scraps, and because of that I'm using a whole lot more cardstock. And because I was a Stampin' Up! Demonstrator, I have so much cardstock, and yes, it's come to the point where I don't always find the perfect shade of whatever color I want, but I still have way too much. So by using a lot of my scraps, what I'm doing is I'm using those cardstock that is sitting in my stash. I'm using up those pattern papers, and not just a little sliver of it. I'm using it quite a bit. And another thing that I started doing is, when I do page kits, I put everything in a plastic bag. Well, when I'm ready to make more page kits, I go back and I go through those right away. I try to make more page kits with the leftovers. And the reason for that is, one, it makes selecting pattern papers way easier because I've already done the thinking and they're pretty much all together. So I'm like, okay, I can do another page using that combo. And a lot of times, because I'm doing a lot of page kits with scraps, when I sit down and do a page like this, I used like 3 little pieces of pattern paper on this. I used way more cardstock than I did pattern papers. So if I had a whole bunch that coordinate with this, they never made it on this layout. So it's perfectly fine that I make another page kit with it. And even if I had, cut down pieces and used it on both layouts, because I'm using them in different ratio on the pages, the page looks totally different, and I might use a different combo of pattern papers. And even though making page kits is probably one of my favorite things to do, it's still a bit of work. I mean, a bit of work that totally pays off in the long run, but it's still a bit of work. So if I've already done the work and I can make more page kits with it, and then all I have to do is add some embellishments, then kudos to me, right? The more pages I can get with those pattern papers, the better. And another thing is, I put all my embellishments in another bag, and then when I make those page kits, I kind of quickly separate those embellishments, and I try to use those embellishments right away before I separate them into color and into the rest of my stash. So thankfully, before I went to the crop, I sat down and I did my journaling for, I think, 33 out of the 48 page kits. So most of the pages that I got done that weekend got the journaling done, and I just love being able to look at the recipe card and then just copy it down. These were pictures of our trip to Mount Carlton this summer, and that's when we were arriving. We were parked side by side, and then we went to register and then went in, and the title is just "We Are Here." And that's it. That's going to complete this layout. And if you're new to my channel, don't forget to hit subscribe if you're enjoying these videos. If you wouldn't mind giving me a thumbs up and leave me a comment down below. And I want to thank you so much for watching. Bye.